Thanks for tuning into the BoshNRoll channel. Liking and subscribing the channel is free and easy, and it helps me out a lot. If you want to go a little farther with your support, I have Patreon and YouTube membership available, which includes access to the BoshNRoll Discord server, early access to things I'm working on, sideboard plans, cards I'm buying. You could have me play your deck on the channel, and the highest tiers come with individual coaching sessions. If you use the YouTube membership option, you get sweet, unique YouTube badges and emotes for the channel. If you want to play what I'm playing, you can use the code BoshNRoll to support my channel while you shop for cards at tcgplayer.com. And if you're playing on Magic Online, a cardhoarder.com loan account can let you play any deck anytime. If you want to wear your support, there is BoshNRoll merch available. All of these links are in the video description below. Thank you so much for watching. Now let's go play some Magic. Welcome back once again to the BoshNRoll channel. Today I am playing Legacy, and this is from local Pittsburgh Legacy player Ken. Local bro. Thanks, Ken. Ken is taking me back to my roots with Blue-White Miracles. This is a deck that made me fall in love with basic lands. This is a deck that I think really, truly solved the metagame at the end of the Deathrite Shaman era. Then Deathrite got banned and things shook up for a while, but this deck is always looming in the background. And this particular build of Blue-White Miracles, basically it uses Monastery Mentor to turn the corner very quickly and win the game as soon as it has control. It's not farting around forever. It does have closing power, which is what I really like about this deck. Other things I really like are the preponderance of basic lands. We got 8 of them in the main deck and another one in the sideboard. And just clean answers to stuff. We got Plows, we got Prismatic Endings, we got Terminus, we got Teferi to bounce stuff, counterspells, and lots of card selection and card advantage along the way. I've made some changes to the list that Ken sent me, and I'll talk through them now, starting with the mana base. Ken originally had 3 basic planes in the deck. I think that's too many. Entreat the Angels is the only card in the entire 75 that requires double white, and it's a 1-of, and it's a 1-of that doesn't matter until the medium to late game. So you don't need 3 basic planes. There's no Supreme Verdict in the deck. That's the card that you really want a 3rd basic planes to make sure you're always casting on time, but we're on Terminus, so we only need the 1 planes. So I cut a basic planes for a basic island. That also helps support the Mystic Sanctuary. On top of that, Ken added a Volcanic Island for Prismatic Ending, so you can get it up to 3. And he didn't have Pyroblast in the sideboard, despite having red in the main deck. And I think that's reasonable. I have experimented with that in some other decks, just put a random bonus color duel into the mana base to kick Prismatic Ending up a notch. But Pyroblast is strong enough that I think it's worth using, especially since we have red mana anyway. And if you're only playing 1 red source with no way to recur it, and Pyroblast is good against decks like Delver that also have Wasteland, you can't have your only red source be a non-basic land. So that's why there's a basic mountain in the sideboard. And when I added basic mountain to the sideboard, Ken had 4 polluted deltas in these 2 slots, and I split them into 2 prismatic vistas and 2 scalding tarns. So these still get... Scalding Tarn gets everything that Polluted Delta does. It's just strictly better if we have red cards in the deck. Prismatic Vista does not get Mystic Sanctuary, which could come up, but it does get Island, Plains, or Mountain, which I think will come up much more often than the Mystic Sanctuary does. So I made that adjustment in the mana base. In the spells, Ken is doing something really cool that I've talked about on the Eternal Glory podcast, that he does not have the full 4 Swords to Plowshares. He's split evenly with Prismatic Ending. And I think that's a reasonable thing to do. I've been talking about it is reasonable that there will be metagames that you have 4 Prismatic Ending before you play any Swords to Plowshares. Like if you only have 6 removal slots, you could go 4 Ending, 2 Plow. I think Ragavan having Dash is too big of a cost right now to not have a bunch of Plows in your deck too. Like you do need instant speed interaction for that creature in particular. But Prismatic Ending, Ken has leaned in with an even split, not 4-2 in either direction, and I like that. I'm excited to try it. Ken's original list had 3 Snapcaster Mage. I cut 1 of them for a Spell Pierce, and the reason for that is I really like having 1-for-1 counterspell interaction in the main deck of Miracles. It sucks when you have to Force of Will everything that you want to counter. Getting 2-for-1 is a bad time. You do have Counterbalance, but you can't always rely on that. Sometimes you need some extra help. Sometimes you need to interact before turn 2. Sometimes you can't set up your Counterbalance. Sometimes you're just on the draw and Counterbalance is too late. I really like a Spell Pierce in the deck, especially to go with the Snapcaster Mages that can Spell Pierce again later on. And the reason I cut the third Snapcaster for the Spell Pierce is because Endurance is everywhere. Endurance is just in main decks, and Snapcaster Mage's stock has never been lower right now. This card is kind of risky on its own, just in the format full of Endurances. Plus, our sideboard has 2 Rest in Pieces in it, and when we bring those in, we're probably going to have to take out the Snapcasters, and just having 2 to take out when we have 2 cards to bring in is just nice and clean like that. So I think Spell Pierce is going to do a lot of work in this league. Love the Monastery Mentor. That's how we get games over quickly. Counterbalance is a card I don't like. I'll just say it right now. I've never been impressed with Counterbalance just in the post-Sensei's Divining Top control shells. I think it incentivizes the wrong things. It makes you do weird stuff with your cantrips, and you're working too hard for a card that may or may not be reliable. If this counters anything, it's great. If it counters 2 things, it's insane. But if it counters nothing, you've just wasted 2 mana and a lot of tempo to get it into play. But we could also think of it like Hymn to Tarak. Like, I imagine most opponents will counter this if they can, so it is a powerful permanent. We'll see if it pulls its weight. I personally would not play this card, but I am going to stay true to Ken's vision of Blue-White Miracles here and play it. I'm going to give it a shot. Predict is a card that was huge in Miracles back in the post-Sensei's Top era, and maybe even towards the end of the Top era. I think it was Anurag was already playing it, but it was huge during the post-Top era. And this is a way to clear dead cards, get actual card advantage. Like in like mirrors where like Swords of Plowshares isn't good, you can brainstorm a plow to the top, then predict it away, and then you don't have to draw the bad card, and you draw 2 cards. It's kind of like a draw 3, a draw 2.5, I guess. Predict is a very good card if you have time to set it up, and the rest of the deck is built to give you time to set it up. 5 forces, of course. Make sure we don't get cheesed out. The Planeswalker split. So Ken had originally 2 Teferi, 1 Jace, 1 Narset. I have 2 of each right now. Ken also had a Hull Breacher in the deck, and originally what I did was I cut Teferi for a second Narset, because I think that denying card draw out of opponents with this kind of deck is more important than denying instants out of them. And then after thinking about it, I realized that Hull Breacher, being a creature, turns on removal in a way that nothing else in the deck does. Like Snapcaster Mage is a 2-for-1 right away. Go ahead, plow it. I'm already up a card. Monastery Mentor, if you get even a trigger out of it, like if you just wait till turn 4, play Mentor, cast Ponder right away, get a trigger, they cast Plow, that's fine. I already got a card out of it. Entreat the Endings. Good luck, Swords to Plow, sharing that. But Hull Breacher, dies to Bolt, dies to Plow, turns on a lot of cards in the main deck that would not be on otherwise. So I ended up cutting the Hull Breacher and putting the second Teferi back into the deck. So with all these Planeswalkers, you basically get to Terminus with reckless impunity. Monastery Mentor, if you're ahead, you just don't cast your Terminus. If you're behind, that's fine. Mentor's back in the deck for later. These games will go long enough that you'll find it again. I don't want him to have to make the decision of like, the board's kind of close and my Hull Breacher's kind of good. Do I even cast my Terminus, or do I gamble that I'll draw another removal spell? I just don't want to be put in that position. So Hull Breacher's out. Every creature in the deck is a 2-for-1 or better on rate. There's not going to be any 1-for-1 trades out of this deck. Planeswalkers for life. 3 Terminus are the sweeper and no Supreme Verdict. I think that does make the mana easier, and since we're doing a bunch of top of the deck manipulation for Counterbalance anyway, I do like Terminus better than Supreme Verdict in that spot. And the last card in the deck, Entreat the Angels. I don't like this card. I think this is in the camp with Counterbalance, that it's a residual holdover from when we had Sensei's Divining Top, that people just think they need to play, but it's actually not that good. And if you are going to play Entreat, I think you need to build your deck around Entreat, like play 2 of them and don't play any other creatures, play 2 Mystic Sanctuaries. I think there are ways to do this, but I don't think that Monastery Mentor and Entreat the Angels go in the same deck. Like, you pick a win condition and you commit to it. These incentivize totally different things. But I'm going to try both. I'm not going to poo-poo it without trying. Same thing about Counterbalance. I'm leaving in the Counterbalance, leaving in the Entreats, though I would not have either of these cards if this were my deck with my tournament on the line. But we'll see how they perform. Cool thing about the Miracle mechanic, the Entreat the Angels and Terminus, Mystic Sanctuary just sets your Miracle right back up. Like, you can Miracle your Entreat the Angels, it gets countered, okay, crack a fetch land, Mystic Sanctuary back on top, boom, we're entreating again. And that is a cool thing. I've seen Miracle decks that play more than one Mystic Sanctuary, so they can just machine gun the Entreat the Angels onto this deck once they're ready, like 3 turns in a row even. But I don't want to do that. I think having your mana under you is more important than basically everything else with this deck. If you're not casting your spells, you're not winning, period. So having a land that comes into play tapped some percentage of the time with a deck that has so many 3-drops. We have 3 Mentor, 2 Narset, 2 Teferi, 2 Jace. Even Counterbalance. Like, if your second land is Mystic Sanctuary, you're going to have a bad time. So I think that just 1 as a tool in the deck is the right number. It doesn't need to be a plan that you commit to 2 or more copies of. And that's probably the most thorough deck check or deck tech that I've done in months on the channel, because I just have so many thoughts going so deep on this deck. Like, this is all just muscle memory to me. Like, looking at these Blue-White Miracle decks, I've spent so many hours just poring over card choices for these decks. As far as the sideboard, there's some pretty normal stuff in here. I've explained the Mountain and the Pyroblast already. Null Rod's great against combo. Pithing Needle for Planeswalkers, Dark Depths, whatever. Surgical Extraction for the Graveyard. Flusterstorm for more 1-for-1, helps against combo. Hydroblast is good against Delver and other things right now. Ken had a Energy Flux in this spot. And Ken's list was tuned for the local Pittsburgh metagame, and I think he had a lot of smart choices, because I'm also in that metagame. Like, I know, and I could see what he was doing. But Dress Down on Magic Online is going to do a lot more than Energy Flux does. They basically do the same thing as far as pressuring or removing construct tokens. And Dress Down is a lot better at that. Dress Down also has text against Doomsday, Oops All Spells, Death and Taxes. Like, I just really love Dress Down in blue decks right now. And I think we're going to get a lot more mileage out of it than Energy Flux. 2 back to basics, because you're never beating a deck that like lands or 12 post without it. Vendilion Click, love this one. Great in control mirrors, great in combo. This is just the cat's pajamas. Rest in Peace, pretty obvious. And here's the last card, Blossoming Calm. This is a card from Modern Horizons 2. Honestly, I have no idea if it's good, but I've been looking for an excuse to try it. On the spoiler, I saw this card and I was like, this is pretty close to a mono white Veil of Summer. And obviously it doesn't stop your spells from getting countered, but what it does do is counter any number of Tendrils copies, counters any number of Grape Shots, 1-for-1s with discard, 1-for-1s with Hymn to Turok. Like, there's a lot to like about this one card, and just as somebody with all this muscle memory for Blue-White Miracles, I saw this one and was like, oh yeah, that's something I can work with. The last decision to make with this deck is if I want a Caracas. So I can cut one of my 6 basic islands. I think I actually am going to do that. Caracas does a lot in this sort of deck. Like, even just bouncing Uro, treading some water, making sure you don't die to the 6/6 is worth a lot. And then it also combos with your Vendilion Click post board. You can click your opponent and then bounce your click, so you can check their draw step every turn. If you have Narset in play, that's actually, and Teferi. Narset, they don't get to draw a second card, so you click them, take their card, and then they don't get to draw a new one. You basically just straight up Thoughtseize them every upkeep. If you have Teferi as well, it's a straight up hard lock. Like, they can't even cast an instant in response to your click. So having just Caracas as a low cost deck building, or a low deck building cost to get access to this Vendilion Click hard lock, is a big deal. What we lose by adding Caracas is another thing that gets wastelanded, another thing that doesn't turn on Mystic Sanctuary. But I think games are going to go long enough, and the upside is there to play the Caracas. So that was a full 15-minute deck tech. I have never gone longer than like 6 or 7 minutes. I hope this was thorough. And if you're into this kind of deck, that was for you. This was a love letter to Blue-White Miracles. Let's go play this league. I'm on the draw with a hand that casts Ponder off of Basic Island, which means I'm going to keep it. If you want to own a BoshNRoll t-shirt that says Island Ponder Keep, that merch is available in the video description below. This is literally the deck that started the Island Ponder Keep meme. Oh, Birds of Paradise. So is this a food chain deck? Or a Lauren, perhaps? Birds of Paradise is not a normal legacy card. It could be a Dark Maverick. I got a bunch of white mana here, so I get to fetch the basic, completely unperturbed. I'm not ready for Mentor here, and I have enough lands to function for a couple turns, so I'm going to shuffle that up. I'm really interested in removal at this point. Whatever's going on here, I'm going to have to remove some creatures. Grist the Hunger Tide. I'm definitely going to counter this. I'm going to pitch one of my Teferis. So I think Snapcaster Mage will do more over the course of a game. Oh, they forced me back. That's troublesome. Okay. This is apparently some sort of Bug Zenith deck, and they forgot to activate their Grist. I'll take that. Count it. It's Brainstorm time. Right, their Swords to Plowshares just a little bit late, and Force of Negation also just a little bit late. So now I can bet on Swords to Plowshares, or I can... Do I want to put back the Force and hope I don't need to 2-for-1 myself? They're down to 2 cards in hand. No, I'm just gonna fetch here for the basic. I don't want to play into Wasteland. Bug decks do sometimes have Wasteland in them. This looks like a Bug Zenith deck. I'm not sure what other version would have Birds of Paradise and Grist. Those are just both juicy Greensun Zenith targets. Keeping up a Force for a Zenith is nice. I could also just plow the creature they Zenith for, but I get punished if the answer to that is Leovold, because then they get to draw a card. So I'm just going to clip this Bird of Paradise right now. Important to note that Force of Negation doesn't counter Grist because it's a creature when it's on the stack. I'm really glad they didn't make a 1/1 insect last turn. Just small relief. If they make an insect this turn, I can play Teferi, bounce the insect, draw a card, get a card deeper. Gotta hope they don't really add anything else to the board this turn. We're definitely treading water, and we're behind. Blue-White historically has a trouble with Planeswalkers. We have 3 prismatic endings in the deck, and we can get up to 3 colors with it. But given the current situation, we need both the prismatic ending and the 3rd color. We currently have neither of those things. But I think the Teferi bounce here is a squeaky clean answer to what's going on, or at least, oh wow. Alright, I've been drowned in the lock. That sucks. Snapcaster's probably going to have to ponder now. Burrow. Alright, this one is fallen behind quickly. This is the weakness of Blue-White. Just, it's very good at controlling creatures, and it's very bad at controlling non-creatures. And it's prismatic ending or bust from this point. We take one from an insect. This deck does contain Terminus, so it's not like we're just dead if they get a bunch of creatures in play. But it's not great either. I think I want to ponder here and not brainstorm. I'm looking for specific things, and the specific thing I'm looking for is answer to Grist. Alright, there's prismatic ending. That is an answer to Grist. Kinda. There's no green source or red source to go with it. What I can do is put prismatic ending in my hand, draw Jace next turn, and then predict away Force of Will, drawing 2 cards. That's a many turn line through this minefield though. Maybe the turn I fetched for basic plains, I should have fetched for Volcanic Island, or at least saved my Volcanic Island to make sure I could answer Grist. I didn't know Grist was coming at the time, or was it already in play? I don't actually remember. Okay. Willing to believe I messed this up. I think And I don't want to shuffle this because then I don't know what's coming with Predict. Alright, I'm going to put Prismatic Ending in my hand. And then I can predict myself naming Force of Will after I draw the Jace. Or I can predict myself naming Jace in my upkeep. Though I think I would rather have Jace in my hand than Force, as far as like things that can help me pull ahead, because I'm already behind. And they get to Uro right now. Maybe I have to spend a turn snap plowing Uro before I even get to do anything else. Grist's ultimate doesn't do a whole lot in the matchup. Like, -5 is each opponent loses life equal to the creatures in your graveyard, and it's even a creature deck, even a deck like theirs is still a legacy deck, and those are not particularly full of creatures. I'm going to absorb damage wherever I can. The Snapcaster Mage isn't getting better. Both my Teferis are gone. One's in exile, one's dead. So I'm not going to be bouncing it for any reason. So I think I missequenced this turn. If I commit to beating the Uro, I should have put Force of Will in my hand and Jace on top with the Ponder. Because if they counter this, I'm basically dead. Alright. Uro's gone. One thing down. They have a Ponder for me, so I'm going to have to predict in my upkeep, because I really can't afford to draw Force of Will when I'm already this far behind. I need to catch up. I need that red source to get rid of Grist. I'm going to trade off again. Let's do it. Please don't cast Leovold this turn. They activated Grist again. I'm going to have to predict in my upkeep. Target myself. Name Force of Will. So this is that draw 2.5 cards that I was talking about. Get rid of the Force. Draw 2. Draw another one. I'm going to Ponder, I guess. Terminus is not bad, but it's also not good. So what does the next turn cycle look like if I keep this around? I can Terminus jam Narset all next turn. I actually don't hate that. And it's pretty slow. Like, Grist can eventually answer it. But it does a good job mopping up the insects and lets Narset stick around for a turn. Impulse is weird. Is this a combo deck? Is this all a distraction and they're gonna allure in me or something? Like, Impulse is not a normal card. When you see abnormal cards like this, you should be thinking about them. Take 2 from the insects. They create another one. Please put another creature into play. Not super excited about that one. I think I should plow the Uro. It's right now on the front half. Get rid of it. They can't hardcast Force right now, which is great news for me. Reveal Terminus. Cast Terminus. Can we clear these insects? Or do we have a counterspell? Alright. Insects are cleared. Slam Narset. Activate Narset before the Abrupt Decay. Force of Will and Counterbalance. I think I'd rather have Force of Will. And Abrupt Decay is good against me either way. They didn't decay Narset in the end step. That's good news. They have 1 creature in the graveyard. So they can sack the Bird of Paradise to kill Narset, but that's a 2-for-1. I'm going to take it. Narset already replaced herself, and they just spent a card to deal with her. It is what it is. I wish they had a more important creature they'd have to sacrifice to that, but at least the Terminus cleared the insects. It wasn't totally free. Is it Jace time? Do I play around Days? I am going to play around Days. Because I can, I will. They know I'm holding Force of Will. Brainstorm right away. Let's go. Oh, I found Entreat the Angels. Do I actually want that? Probably not. Prismatic Vista does not fetch what I need it to here. Maybe I do want Entreat, actually. I can make 3 Angels next turn. Yeah, I'll put those back. I could also Ponder to maintain velocity right now. Like, I could get another card deeper, but I've already made my land drop. I'm not sure that matters. I'm just going to force this right now because it's a cantrip that they can sacrifice to kill Jace. I want to try to keep Jace in play, or at least gain as many cards as I can out of the exchange along the way. Grist just sitting in play, trading off creatures for Planeswalkers is a problem for my deck. I want them to lose something important if they're going to lose something. Okay, they are an Aluren deck. Confirmed. Thought so. Well, not thought so. I suspected it was possible. They're in the Lost Mine now, so they scry 1. That is a kind of desperate play, though. They also just scryed to the top before they activated Grist, which is kind of sus. Okay, I get it. They make they go into the second room, make a goblin that kills Jace. That's freaking sweet. Nice. Genuinely excited about that play. I think that I might have to decline the Entreat to answer Grist, or I just go for it. Now I'll go for it. Getting 3 angels here is a pretty real clock. I think if they had Aluren, I'd be dead already. This is a way that I can attack Grist. If they play Aluren, I lose. But that is what it is. Shit. Okay. So if you haven't seen this before, I'm going to concede to it. I'm not going to make them click through this. But this Akazarak, the Arclich, when it enters the battlefield, you venture into the dungeon. And if you haven't completed a specific dungeon, it bounces back to your hand. And one of the dungeons that it does not... Like, this dungeon, the Lost Mine, is not the dungeon that the Lich wants you to complete. And this one drains for 1. So you can loop the Lich infinitely and you never actually complete the dungeon that it wants you to. Okay. How do I navigate this game? Back to basics. Vendilion Click. Breath Down. These are all good cards here. Surgical, is that good? I think I like... Do I like Pyroblast? We saw a lot of cards that weren't blue that game. Counterbalance floating a 3 actually locks them out of their thing they want to be doing. And Blossoming Calm doesn't actually stop the Aluren combo, because I don't actually know if the mine is each opponent loses 1 or target opponent loses 1, but even if you give yourself hexproof, they can just combo off again in your upkeep after, like, in response to the rebound trigger. So that buys you half a turn. It's not very good. I like Flusterstorm. I didn't see a Wasteland, and I don't think we're going to see a Wasteland at this point. So I'm not going to bring in the basic mountain. Terminus does seem important. Entreat seems really bad, actually. Mentor, I think we can go a little lower on. I think Shave Predict a little bit. Terminus is good sometimes, but like they're a creature deck that's also a combo deck. It's bad against the combo, it's good against the creatures. So I'm gonna go a little bit lower on that. I gotta cut 1 more card here. And Spell Pierce is among my best cards in the deck right now. I'm really glad I have that against this particular deck. Plow does break up the Aluren combo. I think we need... Maybe I don't need Jace. That might be heretical to some Miracles players. Like, I've always played this deck more aggressive than average. I know folks like Honorog, who are extremely talented and know this deck really well, would rather just draw cards than win the game 100% of the time. But I will try to min-max most situations where I draw exactly enough cards to win the game and not a single card more, and then I win the game. So the first one was a mulligan. You can't keep a hand that only makes basic planes for mana, and then mulled into this one, send Terminus to the bottom. Can't put it... Putting Terminus to the bottom is actually good for the deck. And we're lined up on this back to basics with Swords to Plowshares to get us there in between. They pondered and did not shuffle off of a basic island. It's a pretty big bummer. Verdant Catacombs pass. They are not falling for my back to basics plan. And I'm still not going to jam my spell. Just pass the turn here. Maybe I should have brought in the Blossoming Calm to play around discard spells. That's actually a big deal. If they have Cabal Therapy, that's kind of a nightmare. Because they name Force of Will, and then I lose 2 of them, and they have a creature to flash it back with. Yeah, this is a rough spot. I just hope they don't have that card, I guess. Grist the Hunger Tide. Well, that card destroyed me last game. I can force pitching Force, or I can force pitching the back to basics, because it seems like They're pretty well set up against that. I'm gonna wish I had another force if they... I guess having back to basics in play does help mitigate what I'd need to Force of Will, because they're gonna have a hard time casting a 4-drop when I Stone Rain them this turn. Ooh, Counterbalance. That's not bad, but I don't want it yet. I'll cast that next turn. I want to get my hooks in now. So back to basics off of exclusively basics. It's in there. Could mean they have an answer. Could mean they don't have an answer. Could mean they have nothing. Nobody knows. We'll find out together soon. This is a deck that could totally have endurance in it. So I just gotta watch out for that with my Snapcaster Mages, though they had Drown in the lock game 1, which is not a combo with endurance. Taking one from Coatl, this is not what Swords to Plowshares is for. Let's get Counterbalance into play. The longer it's in play, the better chance it has of doing anything ever. Counterbalance resolved. This tropical island is not what they were looking for, I'm sure. It's a one and done situation. It also doesn't make black, so you don't even need to respect Abrupt Decay yet. And by respect, I mean worry about, because there's nothing I can do to respect it. If they have that card, it's going to resolve. Surgical Extraction targeting what? Force of Will? Alright. So I get a look here with Counterbalance. Flooded Strands on top of my deck. Surgical's about to shuffle my deck for me anyway, so go ahead, shuffle it up. I would fetch because I don't want Flooded Strand. Like, that's another thing that Counterbalance does. You get to look at your top card and decide if you want it or not with fetch lands. Sort of a build your own scry. But Surgical's already shuffling for me, so I get to hold on to my land. But Plow, Snap, Plow with Counterbalance in between does make their combo pretty wonky. Alright, please reveal Jace. Flooded Strand still on top of my deck. Okay. Not what I wanted. Alurin's in play now. How dead are we? They're very smartly... Alright, I'll wait until I'm untapped. I'm going to fetch now. I don't want that card. If they go for their combo right now... Actually, I think I needed to draw my land there. That was really bad. Yeah, if I just draw the land... I got really greedy there. So here's Uro. And now they know that there's a land on top, and I have no way to move it. Yeah, that would... I'm rusty with Counterbalance. I should have just drawn the card, had 2 fetch lands in play. That's 2 fresh looks off Counterbalance with Plow, Snap, Plow still around. Flooded Strand is still the top card in my deck, obviously. If they can counter this Plow, I'm dead. Or if they have like Cavern Harpy in response. Oh, they had another Lich in response. Okay, I threw this game away. Should have just drawn my card. So if I draw the Flooded Strand, my top card is Scalding Tarn. I can fetch in response. These don't matter anymore, but if I can Plow, Snap, Plow, and just get blind looks off the Counterbalance, 2 blind looks with Plow, Snap, Plow backup, they have to respect that for a while at least. Yeah, that... I don't know if that turn, if I would have survived, having Uro to test on 3 and then double Lich to play through removal is all pretty messed up, but I definitely could have done better. Ugh, next round. On the play with land Brainstorm, which is a lot worse than land Ponder. I am still going to keep it though. This has our first chance at a turn 2 Counterbalance. I'm going to play my land and pass and take my draw step for the turn. That lets me see an extra card before I have to worry about brainstorming, and I get more information about their deck to brainstorm with. This does play into Daze and Stifle, but I think those cards are going to beat this hand anyway. After last round, I realized that Deafening Silence is a card that probably should be in this sideboard that isn't. It's probably better than Blossoming Calm. I'm just testing things out, but Deafening Silence should definitely be in this deck. It's the best card against multi-spell combo decks. So I guess it wouldn't stop Alurin with... It would stop them from protecting Alurin. But once Alurin's in play, it's there. But yeah, Deafening Silence belongs in this sideboard somewhere. Over the Blossoming Calm for sure, and you might even want a second copy over something else. Depending on your metagame, of course. But that card is generally just pretty safe, including decks like this. So we have Snow-Covered Island, Ponder, No Shuffle. My combo sense is tingling right now. That was a great draw. So I can fetch Tundra and Basic. I do want the access to white, and I do want some additional insulation against Wasteland. So I'm gonna get I think that this is probably a combo deck, but let's find out together. Counterbalance is the best card against a combo deck. It's also the best card against a Delver deck. Actually, leaving up Plow and playing around Daze might have been better against Delver. But here's Counterbalance. Let's see if it's good. They answer this, I hope it's with Force of Will. If they have a Daze to just cleanly pick this up, I guess that's still a huge tempo play for me. Forcing if they are a combo deck, forcing them to Daze on turn 1 when I'm on the play sets them pretty far behind on tempo. They forced Pitching Ponder. Alright, that's a lot of value to give a Counterbalance, so it must be good against their deck. That's the Hymn to Tarak check that I mentioned in the deck tech. I don't know if Counterbalance was going to be good. They don't either, but they spent 2 cards to deal with it. If this is a control mirror and it's not a combo deck, Counterbalance is also really good there, because the longer Counterbalance stays in play, the better it gets to be. Or the more chances it has to be good, I should say. It's Brainstorm time. I don't think Plow and Ending are where I want to be in this matchup at all. So I can put back Plow and Terminus, and then predict naming Terminus in the end step if they don't do anything else. Fetching in my end step. Is this Icefang Coatl? Or is this just a fetch? What are we doing here? Red mana, okay. It's not Icefang Coatl, I'm pretty sure of that. Cycling Timeless Dragon, ooh, this is Standstill. Alright, that changes some stuff. Good to know. If they have the Standstill here, I'm actually in a bunch of trouble. I guess I could Snapcaster in response and just start bashing. Though not being able to clear my Terminus would be pretty bad. I'm drawing 2 bricks over the next 2 turns. And by bricks, I mean, like, not even just they don't really help me. I mean, they really, truly don't do anything for the matchup. Alright, I'm really glad they did not cast Standstill here. I did not want to have to deal with that. So I'll predict myself. Hope they don't have Hull Breacher, I guess. Just resolve, no questions asked. Dump the Terminus, draw 2 cards. Ooh, backup Counterbalance, or I could put Teferi into play. Teferi is some insulation against things that could go extremely poorly. Like, if they do have the Standstill, I can bounce it. If they have Shark Typhoon, I'm gonna wish I hadn't wasted my Teferi. If they have Red Blast in their main deck, I'm gonna invest in success with Counterbalance. I think that's the card that will pay off the most the longer it's in play. It's also, like, if between Counterbalance and Teferi, if one of these cards resolves and the other doesn't, I'd rather have Teferi resolve. I think Snapcaster Brainstorm is also a reasonable play to make that turn. Trying to hit land drops in this control mirror is pretty important. They have a Brainstorm in response, and Counterbalance is in. See if it does any work now. The top of my deck is wild. I have no way to manipulate it at the moment. If I get to untap, I have Snap Brainstorm that can move cards around. And I have 1, 2, and 3 in my hand, so I can counter most things that this deck might cast. If they play Standstill right now, and it doesn't get countered by Counterbalance, that sucks. Oh god, they're fetching. Is it Jace? That's so much worse. It costs 4 or 5 to eternalize this. 4. Okay, so they could just eternalize their Timeless Dragon, get a 5/5. I would love for them to do that, because that's Teferi's bread and butter. Okay, cool. They eternalize their dragon. It's a 4/4, not a 5/5. Oh, that's right. That's how Eternalize works. It's Embalm that brings it back exactly the same, and Eternalize that brings it back as a 4/4. I'll test with the Plow. If they counter this, cool. If they don't, like, Plow wasn't getting any better. I'd love to draw a land, though. That might be better than a land. So casting Teferi, having Force of Negation back up for their turn. I'm going to plus the Teferi, because I would really like to Snapcaster Mage, cast Brainstorm, then pick up my Snapcaster Mage with Teferi, and if I minus it right away, then I don't get that line. And Teferi can bounce a Standstill if they find one. Prismatic Ending targeting my Counterbalance. So they went for the minimum, X equals 1. So this is a 2-drop spell. They could have tapped 5 to, or any number to mess with the casting cost. Right, so how important is Counterbalance compared to other things? I'm actually going to just let them have that. It's a 1-for-1. I can save my Force of Negation for something like Jace or Narset that I'm actually not going to be able to beat. And I'm drawing Narset, so that's a big deal. It was fortunate they did that in the order they did it, because Narset was on top for this 3-drop Prismatic Ending. I am going to save Teferi. That card is extremely important. Now I have a pretty serious question of jam Narset and continue my Prison Hooks, or do the Snapcaster Brainstorm thing. And I think it's Narset. Let's just continue denying things that they can do. I'm going to Narset before I activate Teferi. Plow and Entreat. Neither of those are good at all. I think Plow is slightly better, though it's pretty competitive, and by competitive I mean they're both bad. I am just going to minus the Teferi now. I'm going to get off the Bouncing Snapcaster plan for a turn, because finding a land was pretty important there. And now that I've seen Prismatic Ending, and knowing they could just wipe out the Teferi without me getting a card out of it, that's not a deal I can handle in this matchup. We've got a Ponder, so this is just the look at the top 3 cards, don't draw with Narset Ponder. They're in desperation mode, and I like it. I'm here for it. They chose to shuffle and didn't get a draw. That's the worst possible for them. Great for me. I can Mystic Sanctuary here, but what am I getting with Mystic Sanctuary? I could pick up my Force of Negation and just make sure I'm never losing this game. I actually don't hate that. So Mystic Sanctuary, pick up Force of Negation. Then I have Force in my hand. Narset gets to dig again. Prismatic Ending, not really what I'm looking for in this particular matchup. But I can put the Pedal to the Mentor here, or I can Snapcaster Brainstorm. I think that's better. And I'm going to do this all on my turn because I haven't made a land drop yet. And I would like to turn some of these white cards into non-white cards. So Prismatic Ending and Swords to Plowshares. Or I think I want to get rid of both endings. Or no, the backup Mentor. I'm not going to need 2 of that. That's for sure. I want to hold on to a Plow because if they have Shark Typhoon, that's something that can threaten Teferi and get around Narset. So removing a 2/2 Shark here will protect my Narset. I guess I plus Teferi, so Prismatic Ending does that too. They've seen enough. Next game. Vendilion Click, you were born for this. Pyroblast was born for this. I don't think that I need the basic mountain actually for this matchup, unless I just want to go up on lands. Like, they're not going to wasteland me, but if I just want to hit land drops outright, if I just go up to 21 lands, that's a thing that I might be interested in. I'm going to cut my Plows and my Entreat and my Terminus might bring some number of Plows back in. We'll see what happens here. I don't think any of these cards over here are important to the matchup. Rest in Peace could come up if they're a Hall of Heliod's intervention deck, but I'm bringing in Pithing Needle to name Shark Typhoon with, and that turns off that engine anyway. Hydroblast, we did see red mana. I could probably assume they're going to have Pyroblast in their deck post-board. The red mana in the main deck is probably just for Prismatic Ending, but it's pretty low cost once you're already committed to an extra color in your deck to put Red Blast in the board as well. What does Mountain actually do for the deck? It casts 0 of my 1-drops. It does cast 5 of my 7 2-drops, and there are colorless mana requirements higher up the curve, so I don't hate the Mountain. I don't hate just having 21 lands here. The last thing I'm thinking about is, do I leave a Plow over one of the Force of Wills? Like, Plow is a sort of unique effect in challenging Sharks and Timeless Dragons, or Eternal Dragons, whatever that card was called. Timeless Dragon? Whatever one that is. And I don't really want to 2-for-1 myself everywhere, but matchups like these do frequently come down to... Right, I'm not going to bring a plow back in. Matchups like these do frequently come down to one important spell. Like, we're going to have a giant knock him down, drag him out, counter war over a planeswalker, and that planeswalker will win the game. And that's generally what this matchup ends up looking like. So I want to make sure I have all my tools to win that fight when it happens. I'm keeping this 7-card hand. They're not going to come out of the gates blazing. The only thing I have to worry about them doing quickly is Standstill. I would love to draw Spell Pierce or Red Blast here. That was neither of those things, but I can represent Red Blast. I'll take that. If they play Standstill, I am going to force it, unfortunately. Like, they're going to get that 2-for-1 now instead of a 3-for-1 later. Because my deck doesn't have a way to function through a Standstill. I don't have Creature Lands, I don't have Shark Typhoons. They seem to be just passing the turn, though. That's good news. I'm going to play my Tundra, pass the turn. I can predict in my end step and just target myself, name Island, and hope it works. A very important part of playing this deck, if you play it in paper, is to always just deadpan if you hit a blind predict. Just like, don't act surprised. Just like, yeah, obviously that was there. I knew that. That's mostly a joke, but it is how I play the deck. And when you're blind predicting, you just name the card that you have the most copies of in your deck. Just pick a 4 of. I know some folks use predict much more conservatively. Like, they will save it for when they can set up their top of their deck and they know that they're going to hit. And I don't really think that's necessary. I think that you can get a lot. Maintaining velocity is worth a lot. And just firing off aggressive predicts, I'm here for it. Oh shit. I just stacked that wrong. I forgot I get to draw a card. Okay. Do I want Monastery Mentor? I guess is the question. Alright, I'm going to shuffle my library. Oh, that was a good shuffle. Oh, here's Counterbalance. Surprise. I can back it up with Force. Though tapping out on my turn is a little concerning. Maybe I should have waited a turn on Counterbalance and just represented that I have more going on. I don't really want to force stuff. I'm actually not going to. If they counter this Counterbalance, it's just gone. I'll take the 1-for-1. Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to need my forces to make sure they don't resolve Jace or some stupid spell that actually beats me. Ponder's fine. They have Standstill in their deck, which is their like lock piece. It's not a real lock, it's just, you know, draw 3 cards. But I have actual lock pieces in my deck in Narset and Teferi, and I think this matchup will favor me in a medium to long game, but in a very long game, their Standstills and Shark Typhoons are going to end up better. I don't even know for sure that they have those cards, but it seems like a reasonable bet. I can snap Ponder right now, and I'm going to. I could have left up Hardcast Force of Negation, but I think getting the velocity moving forward, this predict just sitting in my hand is really incentivizing me to move faster on controlling the top of my deck with Ponder. I'm going to leave up the red mana, just make them think about Pyroblast. And the Ponder might even find a Pyroblast, so it's not even a bluff. That would be great. Plus, getting a creature on board in Snapcaster Mage makes Standstill less appealing for them. Like, they're going to have to take some beats until they can cycle a Shark or whatever and check it. Ooh, they had a Red Blast of their own. Sure. Deal. Get it out of the hand now. I'm still just gearing up for that counter war that's coming. There's going to be a really important spell. Their land drop for turn is Mystic Sanctuary, and it's putting Force of Negation on top of their deck. I'm going to predict them. I really hope they cast, like, Ponder right now. Yeah, Predict does target either player, and I currently have good information about what's on top of their deck. Reliable information. This is Jace. Okay, I'm going to Predict in response. See if they want to fight over Predict. Because this is a pretty juicy thing to fight over. They can at least fetch in response. Oh, they didn't even do that. So I just get the full Milieu draw 2. Uh-oh. If they have hidden a force from me, they're going to get their Jace, and that was really bad. I've drawn too many lands here. Oh no, they're fetching. Please cast Brainstorm, not Pyroblast. Do they even have 2 red sources in the deck? Whoa, they failed to find. That had to be a misclick. There's no way they're out of them. Oh, that sucks. I mean, I needed it, but I'm not proud of it. There's no way, right? Like, even if the 3 cards in their hand are all plains and islands, that's not a thing. Oh, sweet relief. I'll take a ponder here. I could... Okay, maybe I'm supposed to. Alright, I have a plan. I'm going to fetch Mystic Sanctuary. I'm going to put Predict on top of my deck. I'm going to brainstorm one of these shitty lands on top of the deck and then predict it away. Mystic Sanctuary for Predict. And brainstorm. Put back. Island Plains. Predict myself, name Plains. I'm doing this all now before they untap and get to have soft permission. Alright, Teferi's pretty dope. Alright, let's go. I think I actually should have done that play with the Ponder. Like, it was lucky that Ponder found Brainstorm to make the Mystic Sanctuary play, but I think I'm supposed to Sanctuary Predict on top of the deck, then cast Ponder, draw the Predict, and mill whatever I set up with Ponder. This Misty Rainforest is awkward because they didn't find an island last turn. Do they suddenly have one in the deck now? I suspect they've had one all along, as we know. I have said as much. So Storm is 1. If they hardcast Force of Will, Flusterstorm's good. Now the question is, what card do I want to cast? I think it's Narset on this board. And I'm going to leave up red mana. They haven't done anything for a turn. Narset does seem like the one that will do more than Teferi. Red Blast. So Storm is currently 3. I could Brainstorm Flusterstorm, and they would have to pay 5. I think this is worth doing. Oh, those were the same cards that I already knew were there. Duh. Do I need double white? Yeah, I don't think they're going to have back to basics. Okay, I can fluster this. I can also still force pitching Teferi if I think Narset is lights out. But I think I would rather let this resolve. Get them down to 1 card in their hand and still have Force of Will and Prismatic Ending to... Like, if they have another counterspell, that is. If Narset just resolves, we're Gucci. They floated 2 blue mana, then let the Flusterstorm trigger resolve. They must have more going on here. And I think that Narset is a better card than Teferi in this matchup, even if it costs me an extra card to do it. So if they have another counterspell, I think I am forcing to get Narset through. Oh, they're just paying for the Flusterstorms? That was weird. You know you got 3 more to worry about, right? They could pay for 4 of them and counter 1. But that seems much worse than just countering Narset. That was a weird thing that just happened. I'm beginning to suspect my opponent is new to Legacy or new to Magic Online, neither of which is something to be ashamed of, just an observation that I've now made. Jace the Mind Sculptor will end this game very quickly, so I'm taking that. And we got the Narset hooks in, like a massive number of their deck is just dead draws now. They probably have 20 lands in the deck, plus 8 to 16 cantrips, all of which are now bricks. This looks like a Prismatic Ending. Right. If this were a different permanent, I would just take my 2 for 1. But because it's specifically Narset, who is such a monster and shuts down, like I just said, probably a third to a half of their deck, just by existing in play, I am going to use the Force of Will on that. Okay, the Needle as well, but I have Prismatic Ending for that. It should be good here. And Narset just being in play, it doesn't even need to activate. She's going to do more in just by existing than she is by activating. They probably want to name Jace with this, actually. I think that is the stronger strategic line. Because Narset only has 1 more activation in her anyway, and her static affects the board forever. So Jace is the one that needs to go. They made the right call on that one. Force of Will's in my hand now. Happy to see that. Let's find a blue card to go with it. No chance. But Prismatic Ending is a good one. I'll let them think I just found it off Narset right now. And they packed it up Planeswalkers are better than enchantments, it seems, at least in this matchup. We actually never even got to see the standstill, but assume it's in there somewhere. GG's, next round. We're about halfway through the video, so let me just remind you that if you like this deck and you want to try it out, you can use the code BoshNRoll to support the channel while you shop for cards at tcgplayer.com, and you can play any deck anytime with cardhoarder.com loan account on Magic Online. These links are in the video description below. Now back to the league. On the draw in the third round, this hand is completely unkeepable. This hand is wonderful. So I'm going to keep this, and this is a point of debate among Magic players. I recently had a conversation with Jarvis Yu about kind of this situation, and he said, "Never bottom a land, you fish." Those were his exact words. But my entire hand cantrips, and I play more lands than I do. Like, lands are the most replaceable effect in the deck. Like, I could just curve straight up to the Teferi, no questions asked. Fuck it. I'm bottoming a land. Tell me I'm wrong. When I miss my third land drop, I'll be wrong. But Brainstorm setting up, like, I have Brainstorm, Shuffle, Predict, I'm on the draw. Like, I think bottoming the land is the right call here. And I think Jarvis would agree. We were playing limited when he said that. So the stakes are a little different, or the incentives are a little different. I don't have Brainstorm and Predict in my deck in limited. Okay, we're playing against a Reanimator deck that kept 7. Oh, I'm on the play. How did that happen? No, I'm not on the play. I'm so confused right now. I thought they mulliganed. Moto just confused me. We're good here. Okay, so their plan is to just put Chancellor of the Annex into play and hope it's good enough. It may or may not be. Now, I kind of wish I had the third land. Specifically due to this start. Okay, now I do. I'm going to play Mystic Sanctuary tapped. Then I go to 15. Then I can cast Brainstorm through the bubble next turn. And then cast Teferi on the following turn. If they find a black card, they can unmask me. But now they can't. Okay, cool. I think we're winning this game. Their hand is unmasked Lotus Petal. Oh, wait. There's the bubble plus the actual thing in play. Never mind. I'm 1 away. I could stabilize at 5 probably. Okay, so they're unmasking me, casting Dark Ritual, or pitching Dark Ritual. So the unmask has been cast. I can Brainstorm in response just to pop the bubble. All right, I'm gonna let this resolve. Like, the Brainstorm gets countered anyway. I'm gonna have to Predict to pop the bubble, and then we can see what happens with this Teferi. Yeah, my math all forgot that Chancellor has the static bubble on top of the beginning of the game bubble, so Teferi costs 4. But I do play Swords to Plowshares, which can get through. I'm going to pop the bubble, just chuck a Predict in the graveyard here. I go to 10 here. I get a turn of cantripping. Then I go to 5. Then I'm dead. Oh, they took a Teferi. I actually think that's stone wrong, for what that's worth. I'm going to Predict myself to pop the beginning of game bubble. I think it's worth it to do this. I could cast Brainstorm and just pay next turn, but I think I want to keep this velocity going. Okay, here is this situation now. I get to Brainstorm and pay. I go to 5. If land number 4 is in my Brainstorm cards, we get to bounce Chancellor, and we're set until they can rebuild both a discard and a payoff. If I miss, the game is over. And that's everything. That's the whole conversation. So let's go. Show me that land. Okay, we're good. So I don't need the extra island, and I don't think I want Predict. I'm pretty excited about Counterbalance, though, honestly, at this point. I could also have the Predict too. Yeah, I just draw the Predict here. Yeah, that's fine. I like it. So I cast Teferi, bounce their Jerk. I'm at 4. They have to rebuild They have to discard the Chancellor again and have a way to reanimate it through a Force of Will. I think we're set. They would have to have something weird to really get through what I'm putting down here. And the longer they slow roll this Lotus Petal, the more likely Counterbalance is to catch it later on. Cool. Alright, I'm not casting Terminus. Plus Teferi, cast Counterbalance. Now if they play a spell, I get to see my top card and I can predict it away if I don't like it. They can use Lotus Petal to test and I still get the scry out of it. Top card is Prismatic Vista. I am likely to predict that away. Counters the Lotus Petal though. Okay. I'm gonna predict in response. Name Prismatic Vista. Draw 2, get a fresh look. This does give up my blue card for Force. Okay, found a blue card for Force. And revealing Island. Alright. So Island, unfortunately, does not cast. What are they bringing back? Chancellor is still their only thing. I still don't have an answer to that, so I'm gonna have to force it. It's too bad. I'm drawing Island. Wish I had a second white source to cast Terminus with Teferi. Getting a little awkward now. Counterbalance just really not doing anything. I guess it enabled my predict, which then didn't do anything. 2 drop. Flooded Strand on top. Okay. So they get their Chancellor back. I draw Flooded Strand. I plus Teferi. I can Terminus. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, that is the correct number to do this. And I could have minus Teferi even if I didn't find the white source there, so no worries. Here comes Chancellor. I fetch. I'm gonna get Tundra. They don't have a way to mess with my mana. Hold 7 mana, hard cast Terminus during combat. Love it. And because that puts the creature on the bottom, it's not even there if they refire a reanimate this turn. Nice. Counterbalance finally did something. Now we're around the corner. And I'm just going to plus Teferi and pass. I can use Counterbalance to set up the top of my deck if I need to do that. Plus I can hardcast Terminus if necessary. Looking for a 1-drop here. Easy money. Force of Will in my hand. Okay, Counterbalance is flexing pretty hard now. I made fun of it last round and at the beginning of this game, but now we're at the point where it's just never going to let my opponent do anything. Okie dokie. Sideboard plan. Rest in Peace, of course. I actually like Blossoming Calm. It plays around discard spells, kinda. Dress Down's not bad. Vendilion Click is excellent. Surgical Extraction, of course. I kinda like Pithing Needle to name Grizzlebrand, but let's see what the sideboard out plan looks like. It's going to come down to how many things I'm cutting more than how many things I want to bring in. Prismatic Ending and Entreat are not parts of this matchup. Counterbalance actually great. I'll let it have that. I think I want fewer Mentors, because the card is great when I want it and terrible when I don't want it. And with all the cantrips in the deck, I'll find it when I want it. You also run the risk of them unmasking you and then reanimating your mentor, and you just die to your own mentor. That's a thing that can happen. Gotta cut 3 more cards if I want all of these. I think the tier list is Rest in Peace, Fluster, Vendilion Click, 100, and Surgical are 100%. Those are locked. And then Dress Down, Blossoming Calm, Pithing Needle are each in subsequent tiers if I can't find more things I want to cut. I don't hate Terminus, though I don't think I want all 3 of them. I like the Plow. I think the counterspells are just a better line in general. And maybe I don't need this many predicts. And what about Jace? Is Jace a brick? It does cost 4 when I'm on the draw against the turn 1 deck, so I am gonna... Is it worse than Terminus, though? I think 1 Jace, 2 Terminus is a nice spread of things to have and dig for when I'm ready for them. Yeah, this makes sense. I could bring in Hydroblast just to point it at Faithless Lootings, but they don't play a whole lot of red spells, and the cards I really care about are black, so I'm not going to mess around with the Hydroblast. This is my plan. I don't believe I can keep this hand. I am going to keep this hand. Like, the one lander that's not even really a land, and... I mean, there's a lot that's wrong with this hand, but it does have Force of Will. My opponent's on 5. I do have land ponder. I don't get to ponder right away, but I do get 2 draw steps before I have to cast the ponder. Is what it is. I'm not going to go to 5 when I have this in front of me. This is a matchup where that main deck Caracas I snuck in right at the end of the deck is going to be great. They mulled to 4. So this is a lot to ask of them to put together a monster with protection with any amount of speed. Oh, that's insane. Now I have the decision, and I don't think it's actually a decision. I'm just jamming Ponder off of Tundra. Let's do the thing. Yup. Do I want Brainstorm or Force of Will next turn? I think I want the Force of Will next turn. I'm getting the Surgical now. Now that I know I'm not going to die right away, I can afford a turn to play this Mystic Sanctuary tapped and just pass. I could even Ponder if I want to. Yeah, I guess Ponder makes some sense. Oh, there's Caracas. Tell me more about Caracas. I think what I want to do here is put the Brainstorm on the bottom of the pile. Draw Caracas now. Play my land tapped. I draw Flooded Strand. Next turn I can play Counterbalance with a 1 on top. And the 1 turns off Entomb, Reanimate, Thoughtseize, Dark Ritual. And I get to leave Caracas open and untapped alongside it. Or I could play the Fetch Land. Yeah, I don't think it's urgent to play Caracas. I can let them commit to a line and then just get blown out by Caracas instead. Now I can shuffle in between counterbalances if I need to, but I don't think they're going to be able to get through the counterbalance on 1. This is an important lesson about taking your time setting up. Like that Ponder would have been easy just to shove the Brainstorm into my hand, but I got to set up this counterbalance. So they are unmasked targeting me. Do I care? I'm not going to use Counterbalance's ability. They can unmask me. I have 2 forces. That's the important card. They could take the Surgical, whatever. And I'm floating the thing on 1. So, the Counterbalance. I don't think they're going to be able to get through this. I just have to figure out how I'm winning the game afterwards. Every single card in my hand was just fucking bonkers. It's just force, Surgical, thing that messes up your thing, and Caracas. Good luck. And I'm just going to pass, leaving the Brainstorm to manipulate Counterbalance more than try to get ahead. Like, what do I do here? Like, Brainstorm into Teferi and aggressively fire it in? I don't think so. I'm just going to take some draw steps. Okay. Well, there's that one. Don't mind if I do. I left the Caracas untapped just in case. I don't think they can get a monster into play with the Rip around, but just in case. And there's the concession, a clean win over Reanimator. On to the next round. I'm on the play in round number 4, and I'm going to keep this. I'm not excited about the Volcanic Island. If this were basic, I'd just be high-fiving everyone in the room. But we're going to be exposed to Wasteland here. Is what it is. Here's a Ponder. Ponder showing me another island's pretty cool. I'm not going to shuffle. I'm going to put the Force in my hand in case this is a deck I need to cast Force of Will against. And I'm going to have the island to jam Counterbalance otherwise. A deck that goes Island Ponder, I think I do want to invest a Force of Will in protecting the Counterbalance if they fight over it at all. Alright, didn't even fight. It's in. Terminus is on top, so unless they, I don't know, cast like Tassiger this turn, I don't think I'm getting anything with it. Ooh, but they know I know what this card is, which gives them some pause. Speaking of pause, I'm going to pause on my upkeep to say no to this Terminus. Brainstorm time. I'm brainstorming to hit land drops at this point, which is not really what I want to be doing. I would rather be brainstorming to set up the Counterbalance, but I'm living my life here. I can float a 2 on top and then just draw it if I want it. Yeah, I think I like that. I'm going to put Terminus under Predict, and I can shuffle these cards away if I need to, and I can just predict away the Terminus next turn without wasting my shuffle. Please cast Coatl, please cast Coatl. Money in the bank. Wop. Your shit's in the graveyard now. Mapped it out perfectly. This is where they cast Show and Tell and we lose. Teferi. So I don't have a 3. I'm nowhere near a 3, in fact. I could just force this thing, or I could fetch, shuffle, and look for a 3. I do play a lot of them. I am doing that. I'm going to fetch for Ponder. Or, Ponder. Tundra. That's the card I was trying to say. And Brainstorm, looking for one of my many 3-drops. I did not find any of my many 3-drops. It's okay. So I'm going to put Swords to Plowshares, Force of Will on top of the deck. And then I'm going to force their Teferi. And when they force back, I'll counter their force. And I'm going to pitch, I think, Predict to do this. Got him. Reveal Force of Will to counter your Force of Will. Alright, Counterbalance has looked pretty good. I make fun of this card a lot, but it's doing some work here. I'm going to shove Jace the Mind Sculptor onto the stack right now. My top card is a 1, which won't help me win a Daze fight, but it's time to just Brainstorm, try to put a 3 on top. Every card in their deck that matters is a 3-drop. Oop, already played my land for the turn. That's right, I did do that. So I have a 1 on top, and Force of Will at the ready. It's actually pretty cool. If they go for Show and Tell, I force. They have to force back. They can have 1 card left in their hand. If it's any creature, I can bounce it. If it's Omniscience, they're Hellbent. Also, the Show and Tell puts Flooded Strand into play, which gives me a fetch, which gives me a fresh look on Counterbalance. But they're just packing it up. I love when my opponents are that honest. I didn't have the game won. It was just in a good space. But, okay, Counterbalance. I'm not going to say I'm a believer, but I'm not a hater. I got Flusterstorm, Pyroblast, Vendilion Click, Surgical Extraction. Surgical is... This is hotly debated for many years. Like, do you bring in Surgical against a deck like Show and Tell? Because if you counter a Show and Tell, you can extract it, then you don't have to worry about Show and Tell anymore. However, you have to get through the first Show and Tell to do that. And could be risky, and it's not a good card until that happens. But I think it's worth doing. Pithing Needle, we saw Teferi, and we can imagine Grizzlebrand's probably in this deck. I also like Dress Down. Worst case scenario, it cantrips. It can turn off the Coatl triggers. And treat the Angel coming out of the deck again. Imagine that. Prismatic Ending, can I hit Teferi? The Plow does concern me a little bit. Like, do I want 1 Terminus in the deck in case they pivot around onto dinosaurs? Or do I just let Mentor get Mentory if they go for that line? What can I do about a Coatl otherwise? And I have the endings, of course. Mentor can overpower them. Bouncing it with Teferi doesn't feel good, but I've seen worse. I have Pyroblast in the deck now too. Okay. I'm mostly convinced that it's fine to do that. I might want to leave 1 in and cut 1 Mentor maybe. Yeah, just like last round. And it's another combo deck, so we're having a lot of the same conversations. Where Mentor is great when you're ready for it and terrible when you're not. This hand has Force of Will and some stuff. I'll keep it. You can't really rely on Force of Will to just win the game for you. Their deck is good at fighting it, but having the Brainstorm, the Predict, like, this hand gets to do a lot. Found the second land right away. It's always a relief. Spell Pierce, love that card. Finally making an appearance. Ponder, I'm not going to Spell Pierce that or do anything in response to it. Now the question is, do I Brainstorm on my turn, or do I Brainstorm in the end step? I think I want to wait till my turn. If I do it end step, I guarantee that Predict lines up, but if I go to my turn, I get to see an extra card, and I get to do stuff like find this Prismatic Vista, which I am going to play. It gets around Spell Pierce. Brainstorm. Dress Down's pretty dope. I think we're pretty far away from Monastery Mentor being a player in this game, and Predict is a ways away from being helpful also. I'm not predicting for a while. Am I jamming Narset next turn? I think I have to shuffle anyway, so yeah, I'll just put those away. And now I have Spell Pierce to back up my Force of Will if we get into a fight. I'll end step Brainstorm. That's not where the Spell Pierce is going. I'm going to shuffle in the end step. I'm going to fetch and just cast a Naked Predict. Just trying to get this game, get some velocity moving forward. I'm going to name Flooded Strand. That's the only 4 of in my deck right now. And I'm not targeting them because they could have Veil of Summer. And I don't want to give them a cantrip instead of getting a cantrip. Hull Breacher, that's pretty fucked up. Do I want to fight over this or just... I guess I can't really deal with it. So I'm going to force pitching probably Brainstorm, because if this force doesn't work, Brainstorm's gone anyway. Fuck, they had the Veil. Alright, they got me good here. I hope my my thing doesn't hit. Please don't mill an island. Okay, I could just name Abandon Hope. Nice. I don't play those. There's Ponder, so I could dress down and cast Ponder. I think I like that. This is the only way I'm going to get to cantrip forward in this game. Ponder. Need to find some lands. If I find the red source, I can ending the Breacher. Okay, cool. Kinda lands, but not the most helpful. I at least have Spell Pierce now, and Snapcaster Mage can ambush the Breacher. So we have some kind of interaction going on here. Days Undoing. If they have Veil of Summer, we lose. Is what it is. They appear to be spending mana. They should have attacked first. They at least get 3 damage in. If Days Undoing resolves, the turn ends. So they miss 3 damage there. But I don't think it matters if they get 14 or 7 treasures and draw 7 cards. Alright. I can safely concede this one. And now I know that they're not show and tell. They're this Bant combo deck instead that changes entirely how I interact with it. So ending gets worse. Plow gets better. Hydroblast is still not in the deck. Mentor, still 2 is the right number of that. I don't think I want the basic mountain. Yeah, Pyroblast is great. Needle can still name Planeswalkers, but not turning off Grizzlebrand. I don't think I want it for just Teferi, because I also play Teferi. Mentor, Calm. Yeah, the rest of these cards I'll stay in. I could bring in another ending and cut a Force of Will now that I know what they're up to. I could play a little more fair game now that I know the full combo shield doesn't have to be up. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, first appearance of Red Blast. Unfortunately, I have no cantrips, and if I get red, then I don't have white. There's no plateau in the deck. I'm keeping this hand, though. Just passing with the Flooded Strand. That's how this one's starting. They have a Vista. Brainstorm. Hell yeah. If they crack their fetch land, I'm going to Brainstorm. I don't want to give them like a free... I guess I could just Brainstorm now. I didn't want to give them free counter if they had action at the end of the turn. But now I don't have to worry about that. Like, that's just an easy Spell Pierce if you're not spending that mana anyway. Carpet. I just put Prismatic Endings on top of the deck. Okay, that's fine. I can draw one of my endings and end this thing. They get 1 mana out of it before it goes. I think I can live with that. That's fine. How about Prismatic Ending, folks? Just answering things that previously were unanswerable. Like, I would not have brought in Disenchants in this matchup, or Engineered Explosives in this matchup, or anything like that if I had it, but Prismatic Ending just hangs out in the deck, answering random shit. And that's what we're doing right now. I still haven't seen a Wasteland or Back to Basics out of them, and I have it covered if they do, so I'm just gonna end their Carpet. Get out of here. Can't Veil of Summer that. I have 3 answers to Hull Breacher in my hand. Harvest is fine. Harvested for a Brainstorm, you got it. I am drawing Wild right now. Lands, always welcome. Now I'm holding up Hardcast Force of Negation with Pyroblast backup, and then I can also pitch cast Force. So there's a lot of action right now. Or a lot of reaction, not a whole lot of action. This is a situation where I could wait on Predict, or I could just jam it. And I think I'm going to jam it. With 2 answers to Hull Breacher at the ready. Let's go. I'm going to name Island. There's 4 of those left in the deck. A Milden Island. That's the money shot. Yeah, that's not going to happen super often, but it happens often enough. I could jam Monastery Mentor here and just put my foot on the gas. I have Force of Will and Force of Negation and Pyroblast backup. Let's fucking go. Put them to the test. They think I'm the control deck. Also, if they just Force of Will this, I think I let them have it and just go back to being a control deck. Because if I force this to make Mentor through and then they untap and... I guess, no, let's see how many cards they end up left within their hand. What they pitch to Force of Will shows me a lot. Veil of Summer is kind of a concern. Like, let's see what this Brainstorm and what the stack looks like before I commit to anything, but I am likely to just let them force my Mentor if they have Force, and just take the 2-for-1. Because if I have Narset when they go for their Days Undoing, even if they have Hall Preacher, we basically just let the dust settle, and it's Hall Breacher versus Narset, and both players are hellbent, and I get the first draw step afterwards. If they have Force, they force pitching to Fairy. If I Red Blast, I actually think I'm going to go for Red Blast. Having the 1-for-1 answer here is pretty exciting, and I haven't cast a blue spell this turn, so if they have Veil, they don't get to draw a card off it. And I get a 3-for-2 out of the deal. And Spell Pierce is going to get me either way, but yeah, I'm okay with this situation. They can have my Mentor. They have 2 cards left in their hand. I have 2 forces in mine. Their combo costs 6 to execute, so I'm not even really worried about it all happening right now. If they have like Jace with Veil backup. So I think I want to Force of Will pitching Brainstorm. Hold on to the Force of Negation because it's more hard castable in the future. I'm going to leave up white for Swords to Plowshares rather than leaving up red in case I find a Red Blast. I did find a Red Blast, but I still think that having the blue card available makes more sense. The big chunk of their deck's turned off. We're pretty sure that their hand doesn't do anything right now. Just gotta make sure I don't get cheesed out by Coatls. Activate Narset. Jace is a hell of a... or Teferi's a hell of a card. And we'll know right away if they have a Coatl or not, because they're gonna have to cast it. Hall Breacher. That resolves. Teferi. That resolves. Plow your Breacher. Want that card gone. And I think I want to draw a card right away with Teferi. Just pay out that. They got me game 2. I thought they were doing something different than they are. Game 3, we just have Swords of Plowshares in the deck. Hall Breacher's not a problem. Sitting on double force with Teferi Narset, and opponent packed it up. On to the final round, playing for 4 and 1. I'm on the play in the final round, playing for 4 and 1, with a hand that's pretty good against any creature deck, and it has Force of Will against combo. No cantrips are kind of a bummer. Gotta figure out something to do with this Terminus, but this is not a mulligan. I'm rooting for them to just be Delver. Like, if I can plow ending, snap plow on my way to get the game stable, I like that situation. I'm gonna lead on the Tarn. In case they're not a Wasteland deck, I want access to my better mana. Bloodstained Mire, go. That's suspicious. Bloodstained Mire are mostly combo decks these days. Sometimes you get like Grixis or Goblins, but generally Bloodstained Mire is in decks like Storm and Reanimator. This is where it's going to hurt if I don't find a land or a Brainstorm. Ouch. Alright, I've missed my land drop. My opponent now knows that I have 7 spells in my hand. So as far as spells I could draw that I can't cast right away, Spell Pierce is a pretty good one. I'm kind of hoping this is Storm, so Blossoming Calm has a chance of doing anything this league. The speculative hot tech. See if it actually pays off at all, even once. I would bring it in against Grixis too, though. That's a discard deck. Actually, I don't know if there's a Bloodstained Mire deck in the format that I don't bring that card in against. That's really interesting from a theory perspective. Yeah, I think if I see Bloodstained Mire, I'm just bringing in Blossoming Calm. Maybe Food Chain Goblins. is one that is not where I want to be. Is Sling Gang Commander each opponent or target opponent? That doesn't matter because they don't have to commit to it, or it just happens in response to the Blossoming Calm. Yeah, Food Chain Goblins is a Bloodstained Mire deck that I would not bring in Blossoming Calm against. We found one team. Okay, we've got Volcanic Island, Underground Sea, Verdant Catacombs. That's suspicious. I'm thinking this is Storm now. Grixis Control doesn't play this land. Our hand is really bad against Storm, by the way. I mean, Force and Spell Pierce are not nothing, but they're also not much. If they spend a turn investing in Wishclaw Talisman or Defense Grid, I have the ending for it, but that taps me out of Spell Pierce unless I draw a land. But I need a Brainstorm real bad. Wishclaw Talisman confirmed. I'm not going to Spell Pierce it because Prismatic Ending doesn't have many targets in this matchup, and that's one of them. Ugh. Alright, I'm going to get Basic Island and Tundra. And I'm going to end the Wishclaw Talisman. And then I'm probably going to lose because I had to tap out of my Spell Pierce to do this. Get that out of here. I still have the Force, so it's not like nothing, but it's not. I'm not happy about it. They left up a green mana when they went for the Talisman last turn, so I think it's reasonable to expect they have Veil of Summer. This is definitely the Epic Storm, by the way. All of my suspicions are confirmed. I would like to get to my next turn and draw Brainstorm for that turn. That's all I ask, deck. The Dead Air will be edited out when you're watching this, but they've been thinking about this Brainstorm for a long time. I think what they're doing right now is determining, do I want to go for it now, and how much protection do I have, versus passing it for a turn. They're going to get that. Come on, deck, give me Brainstorm. No. Well, I'm going to have to beat an active Wishclaw Talisman with just this handful of bricks. Force plus Spell Pierce is going to have to be enough. And I think I have to get rid of this. I'm going to discard the Plow, actually. Because there's a world where they end up making some goblins, and then I have, like, Brainstorm to set up Terminus to clear the goblins. Like, obviously, that's unlikely, but it's non-zero. And the likelihood of Swords of Plowshares being useful in a game one are definitely zero. Like, they could get Avy. Or Ave. I think Ave. The like, Storm Ooze. That's something that Terminus can mess with as well. They're fetching their green source. Battle. Battle. The Spell Pierce doesn't look very good right now, team. Okay, so they Ad Nauseam. And I think I Spell Pierce it first. Because if they commit Lotus Petal to Veil. Okay, forcing the Veil looks pretty good here. That way they don't even get the cantrip. And I am pitching to Fairy to do this. Because Snapcaster, like Snap Pierce, does seem like a playable thing. Alright, that went better than expected. I think they should have led on Veil to know if they had things activated or not. Yeah, the second Terminus is just definitely what I wanted to draw there. I survived this crazy opening salvo, and then splat. Here's Wishclaw Talisman. Good luck. So now they can wish for just whatever they want and do whatever. The white cards are so bad against combo, it's unreal. They have a Ponder. That's bad. I'm pretty jealous. They've cast 2 Brainstorms and a Ponder this game, and I've only had none of those things. Heartbreaking. They chose to shuffle. Good sign. I guess the grim reality of me having 4 white cards in my hand, to them, just looks like a blue player with 5 cards in their hand, and they have to give me some amount of respect for that. Or they could just echo my shitty hand. Oh, thank you so much. That's actually a giant blessing for me. I mean, I might just lose right now. There's a good chance they have Talisman in play and etc. So I'm probably going to die, but that was a better chance at playing this game than anything else I've seen so far. All right, 2 cards left plus the Wishclaw. So I can't force because they can activate Wishclaw in response, find a Veil, and just mess me up. Storm is 7. They're going for it this turn. They wouldn't have run out all those artifacts if they were planning for a second round. Here's Burning Wish. They did not hold priority. I guess they don't need to. Yeah, I'm at 17. Yeah, they can just cast Tendrils. That's smart. And they can still get a Veil with the Wishclaw Talisman. Yeah, we're dead there. Wishclaw Talisman, by the way, is activate only on your turn, not activate only as a sorcery. And that text matters a lot because that lets them commit to their line and get Veil if they need it, and if they don't need it, they can just do something different. So it's a pretty big deal. Alright, Flusterstorm's in, Pyroblast, Nullrod, Blossoming Calm, hell yeah, Hydroblast, Vendilion Click. See how many cards I'm cutting before I start thinking about Surgical Extraction. Or Pithing Needle on Wishclaw Talisman is kind of a big game. So these are my second tier, and these are my first tier. Treat the Angels, see you later, once again. I'm going to cut all the Swords to Plowshares because I don't even have to think about Xantid Swarm because I have the Prismatic Endings. I do want some number of Terminus in the deck in case they go for Ave. And by some number, I probably mean 1. I'd prefer they just don't combo at all. That's plan A. So predict is... I can never predict them because they're a Veil deck. Jace is kind of expensive to expect to work in this matchup. Is Surgical or Needle a better card? I think Needle on Talisman will do more for me than Surgical Extraction on just whatever, because they don't use their graveyard a whole lot. I don't get priority when they crack LED to cast Echo, so that's not like that does anything. They're not a Past in Flames deck, that's just not what the Epic Storm does. So I'm bringing these in, and are any of these cards that are left in the deck worse than Surgical Extraction? And I don't think that they are. I think this is a reasonable deck to present. Rest in Peace does stop the combo, or the Echo, but I think I'd rather have access to Snapcaster Mage than turn off specifically Echo. Alright, this is a keep. Counterbalance earning its dinner. Though it has been pretty good, I will admit it. I think I'm just going to pass with Hydroblast up. I don't need to ponder here. I have to shuffle to cast Counterbalance on turn 2 anyway, so pondering into... Like, Ponder doesn't get to set anything up. And I think representing the full range of Flusterstorm, everything, versus pondering and leaving the shields down is reasonable to do. Plus, Hydroblast does just interact with Burning Wish, or Brainstorm can look for stuff. So I'm not just cold here anyway. Veil of Summer, Brainstorm. Okay, so they're going for it now. Like, they must be pretty close to a combo if they're just going to Brainstorm turn 1 like this. They're looking for something to set up here. I really wish I could Brainstorm end step and float a 1 on top for the Counterbalance. Because if they resolve a Veil of Summer, Counterbalance doesn't do anything else. I think this is actually an end step Brainstorm for me too. Like, if I can find an untapped blue source and set up my Counterbalance, or find a Force of Will that makes it safer to just jam the Counterbalance, those are all things I'm interested in. I am going to end step this Brainstorm, which is normally heretical in Miracles. They have a Chrome Mox. What's the plan with that one? They're making red with the Chrome Mox. That's good for my Hydroblast. Alright, just nothing with the second Chrome Mox. Rite of Flame. I'm not going to fight over that. Another Rite of Flame. Petal. Please cast Burning Wish. Galvanic Relay. That's pretty good. So they get to exile 7 cards. That was an insane start. These cards all happen next turn, by the way. I'll probably counter one of them just because I can. Or do I Brainstorm here? This is an interesting situation. Alright, if I can Brainstorm and have Counterbalance in play with a 2 on top of my deck, this actually shuts this down really hard. So I am going to end step Brainstorm. I'm looking for untapped land 2-drop off this Brainstorm. None of the above. Put back those 2. How much can they do on their turn? Quite a lot. I could just shove the counterbalance, hope there's a 2 on top. You know, 1 or a 0 also play here. I'm gonna do that, I think. So a 0 checks the pedal, though getting Wishclaw in. Alright, counterbalance it is. Bang. Hopefully this will at least slow them down or like weird out their hand, or weird out their options a little bit. I don't think I'm deterministically dead to what they're showing me right now. Alright, Vendilion clicks on top. So the Veil of Summer doesn't do anything this turn. It does make sure all their other stuff happens though. F6. So they get to cast 2 Wishclaw Talismans, and they can activate one of them. I mean, this is pretty rough. I'm not gonna lie. They exiled all 4 Wishclaw Talismans off that Galvanic Relay. That's so crazy. So I think, do I just win the game on the spot if I Hydroblast their Galvanic Relay, or their second Rite of Flame last turn? They would have 2 mana and can't cast the Relay at all, and just pass the turn with nothing. Or did they have Lotus Petal in play at the time? They might have had the Petal in play. I don't know. That was a tough spot. Their hand would have to be pretty good for them to not pass the turn right now. They pass the turn. Time to cast Ponder. That will do more than Vendilion Click, I'm quite sure. What cards are important to them? Their Burning Wishes are important. Veil of Summer is important. So if I leave a 2 on top... shit. I needed to leave a 1 on top. I wish I could undo that. Alright, I'm drawing the Brainstorm. Alright, I haven't lost it yet, so if I think I needed to leave a 1 on top to check for Veil of Summers, and then leave the 2 on top for the counterspell later. I could just Ponder now, get the 2 back in my hand, set up a 1. Okay, I am gonna Ponder now. That didn't do what I needed to do. Shit. I've fucked this up. Do I want to leave the 2 on top or draw the 2? I am gonna shuffle the library. Alright, we're just playing wild here. Mistakes were made. I think I just really needed to leave a 1 on top to counter Veil of Summer first. Like, if I just put Predict in my hand, leave... Though, I guess... I think what I was thinking was that Brainstorm... I can't change what's on top with the Brainstorm on top. Like, it predicts in my hand. Yeah, that's what happened, right? I couldn't get both Brainstorm and Predict into my hand while stacking the top of the deck. I don't know. I get 1 blind look and a shuffle, or I could just commit the Brainstorm and counter the Veil and let happens what will from there. I could also take my 2 blind looks and sit on Hydroblast. My opponent does have some decisions to make, though. Just firing into this blind counterbalance is a big ask for them. If they wish for something with Talisman and don't kill me, I can wish for Null Rod on my turn and the game ends. So the stakes are high right now, and every turn they give me makes the game harder for them. Plus they know I'm holding Vendilion Click. I guess they don't know that because I did cast I cast Ponder, not Brainstorm. So they know I'm holding Vendilion Click, which can start clocking them starting next turn with mana still available. This is a tough spot for them. I imagine the tools to win exist. Alright, let's reveal. Prismatic Ending's on top. So I have a 1 on top of my deck. I'm going to let Burning Wish resolve. What do they get with this? Echo? They did get Echo. Then they pass the turn. I do not want to draw Prismatic Ending. That card is not helpful right now. They have 2 of the card I would want to cast Ending on. I think I just get Tundra, keep my mana perfect. Flusterstorm's a good one. I could Vendilion Click them now when they can't Wishclaw for Veil of Summer. And that takes the Echo. If their hand right now is Veil of Summer, though, that play's not great. I think that just having this wall of Brainstorms and Flusterstorm with Counterbalance is going to be worth more than trying to clip their Echo when they haven't even shown me LED yet. And they can wish for Veil at any time. So there's going to be a level system here where they play Lion's Eye Diamond, Counterbalance triggers, I Brainstorm in response. Or not. None of the above. Vendilion Click, let's go. They'll probably just Veil this thing. I don't think they can kill me in the end step. But again, if they Veil for, or if they wish for Veil, I wish for Null Rod, and the game is over. When I was talking to Ken about this deck and changes I want to make, his one stipulation was like, leave Vendilion Click in the sideboard, that's my shit. And here we are, in the final round, playing for 4-1, and it's showing up clutch. By the way, if they wish for Veil... Alright, I'm gonna blind reveal for this. Got there! That was insane. Okay. Blind Counterbalance. Probably just won this game. Alright, so they're holding Eve. So that is something slightly concerning. Is that concerning? Do I even care? I probably care a lot about that, actually. I can... Ugh. Do I just leave these here? Because if they, like, wish... Yeah, LED doesn't cast Eve. But none of my counter spells interact with either of these. I think I just leave them with both of these cards. Yeah, I'm not going to take any cards. I'm going to draw this Pyroblast for the Echo. Leave them with hard times to get that Eve onto the stack. Eve? Avey? I think it's Ave. I'm going to say it wrong. I could brainstorm now looking for that GG Nullrod. Or that GG Narset. Or I could save it for manipulating Counterbalance. I think I have enough Hateful Permanents in my deck that I want to brainstorm now. Right. Ave is a legend. The tokens are not legends. Just straight up not legends, by the way. Not even like the legend rule doesn't apply. Are not legends at all. The original Ave is the biggest one though, so the Caracas does have text here. Is Caracas better than Basic Island? Probably. And I'll leave... Do I leave the Hydroblast on top or the Flusterstorm? I think I leave the Hydroblast on top. Because we've seen a card that the Pyroblast can counter. They have to look for Burning Wish. I'm floating a 1 right now. So cantrips are off, Veil's off. I can counter the things in their hand, and wishing for Veil doesn't matter because I'm floating a 1. Oh, and I have the Caracas plus D-click situation going. I can just get that looping. I forgot about that for a second. Keeping Caracas was definitely the right call. Alright, it's wishing time. Let's see, are they going for the LED? Alright, so here's the level system I described. I'm going to fetch because the 1 isn't helpful. If they wish in response for a Veil, cast Veil, that will be countered. Let's see what level we're on here. If I reveal a land to counterbalance, that counters LED. Or, yeah. I could get Mystic Sanctuary, but there was already a 1 on top. So I'm going to get Basic Island and let this happen in the blind. Got there, revealed an island. There's a lot of lands in the deck. Opponent scooped it up. They know I'm wishing for Nullrod. Game 3's coming. That was a tight one. Dress Down's actually pretty good against Ave. Like, it doesn't stop the Storm. They're going to have a large number of 2/2s, but they'll only be 2/2s. The ETB with +1 counters on it equal to the other Aves you control doesn't happen. But again, that's planning for a world where Ave is on the stack with Storm Trigger, which is not a world I want to play in. And the confirmation of Ave both in the main deck, I guess it would have to be in the main deck. They haven't really adopted regular Wish. They're still on Burning Wish, and you can't Burning Wish for Ave. Do I want Terminuses? Or do I want to just leave in the 1? And again, we're back in that position I was talking about of betting, can I stop their Storm, or do I want ways to clean up after the Storm? And I think that... Does Surgical Extraction do anything important for me? I don't think that it does. Yeah, I think this is just the best version of the deck that I can submit, and that's what I'm going to do. Ding, 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 ding. Keep, and hope I get a turn. It might be reckless to keep a hand without Force, but this deck is built to beat Force, and this deck is pretty slow and resilient as far as Storm decks go. I mean, they have stuff they can do on turn 1, but the stuff they do on turn 1 is usually like... Oh god. Alright, well... I'm gonna get echoed here, and we could just die. Bummer. If I'm on the play, this game is fine, but on the draw I might lose. That was the nutters. Hope they passed the turn. You're saying there's a chance. Okay. I can brainstorm into stuff, if that's something I need to do. Basically, they just mulliganed both of us, and neither of us got to mulligan again, which is pretty powerful because I had the banger sideboard card I was looking for. And my hand is not good right now for the matchup. There's an opal with no other artifacts. There's an LED. Okay. Storm is many. Brainstorm, so they can... Alright, well, they passed priority, so they weren't cracking LED in response. They would have had 5 mana for Ave if they crack LED in response. Oh no, they were just building Storm to pass the turn. I'll take that every day. Brainstorm lets me ponder. If I find ponder. I should have saved my land drop if I was going to brainstorm though. I'm just going to pass like I'm rolled up here. Make them think about what I might have in my 7-card hand. The Underground Sea Taiga. This is the unstoppable combo. They have every color available. It sucks I don't have white mana, because then I can't even spin into the Blossoming Calm if they echo again. Another Petal. Ugh. I guess I have to brainstorm in response to this. Like, it's now or never. That gives them Storm, which I'm not excited about. Also gives them a draw. I'm not excited about. Alright, now they know they can do whatever they want, which I guess they knew anyway. A Mentor on top of the deck, or Teferi on top of the deck. It doesn't really matter. Alright, Teferis are on top of the deck. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have given them that extra draw. It also gives them tons of information that my hand doesn't currently have a counterspell. I gave them a Storm and a draw when... What am I even looking for there? Like, I don't do anything. Okay, that was just bad. I should not have brainstormed. That Veil also just could have been a test, and I failed it. Like, my hand doesn't do anything. Veil of Summer, scare me into firing off Force of Will, go. That's a line that Storm players have available to them. They're cracking their fetch land. They do have more activity this turn. I can target this Badlands, because it wasn't in play when they veiled, in case that becomes relevant. Narrator, it didn't. Burning Wish, are we echoing again? Yep. Alright, we're getting another echo. Really wish I had white mana up. Let me get another turn, please. Oh god. Fan is not very good. They're brainstorming. Chrome Mox, Storm is 7. Exiled a red card. Rite of Flame. Defense Grid. I mean, they were already veiled up. I guess that protects from the Mindbreak Trap, or it lets them pass the turn. Like, lets them resolve Defense Grid while they're veiled up. Alright, Brainstorm, you gotta find Null Rod right now, buddy. Or we can do this. Okay, so I can't cast Blossoming Calm on their turn. Or this is until your next turn. You gain Hexproof until your next turn. You gain 2 life. So I'm actually doing that. It's time. So I'm going to put back these 2. I'm going to fetch. This buys me 2 turns. You gain Hexproof until your next turn. You gain 2 life. Yeah. That card has been cast now. If they AV me, if they Ave me, they have a Brainstorm, but Ave is I think the only thing they can do. Like, Grape Shot, Tendrils don't affect me for the next 2 turn cycles. And I can roll up a Counterbalance in the meantime. And that was a good way to buy some time, for sure. There is a Terminus in the deck, but if they have Ave, she's going to be huge. Second Defense Grid. Alright, I'm really not casting any spells. Okay, so we're going to my turn. I get to rebound Blossoming Calm and go another spin. If I have Snapcaster Mage, I can keep treading Blossoming Calms. That's actually a line that exists. Time to Brainstorm. Put back Scalding Tarn and Basic Mountain. Or do I just put back the 2 non-fetch lands? I think that's the play. Just max shuffles to go alongside my my selection here. Oh, I can also Mystic Sanctuary my Blossoming Calm back. And just be ready to refire that. I can do that next turn. Yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna get Tundra now and cast Ponder. Try to set up Counterbalance. None of these are helpful at this point. And Counterbalance. There's a Snapcaster, so I can Snapcaster and Mystic Sanctuary, the Blossoming Calm, Tread Water, and they have to kill me with Eve, because I'm just untargetable for the next 4 turns. Vendilion Click's on top of the deck. That's a Naked Veil. Yep, F6. Can't counter anything else. Burning Wish. Not going to counter that. Can't. They're floating black mana. Are they going to peer into the Abyss? Yeah, they are. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, they have exactly enough to peer. Oh no, they have 1 extra to peer with. So they can set up a big peer, or they can peer now, and then they have to cast their slime this turn, and I have to find Terminus. Scary stuff. Storm is Infinity Billion. They're exiling green cards to Chrome Mox, so it looks like they are planning to put their girl into play. Certainly willing to believe there's a line where I am supposed to needle Wishclaw Talisman just to cut off an out, but I thought that Counterbalance under the double defense grid made a lot of sense. There is the fun of 1 of Terminus in the deck. Dark Ritual. They also have 1 minute left on their clock, so they might just time out, which they have played an extremely deliberate pace this entire game, and I mean, it's Magic Online. The clock is there for all of us. But here's the ooze. Let's see if they can make their attacks in 44 seconds. They probably can. They also had Wishclaw Talisman. Come on, Terminus off the top. Show me it, dealer. Oh, right, it was Vendilion Click. I knew that was there. So let's 12, 11, 10. This is a whole lot of stuff here. How can I... Do these have trample? They do not. So how can I navigate this? Is there a series of cantrips that gets Terminus on top of my deck? I think Snap Brainstorm is required. And I have to Brainstorm into the Terminus and into a way to cast the Terminus. Not looking good. Predict is the wrong card. So I have to Snap Brainstorm. Or, yeah, Brainstorm, because Ponder gets more looks at the Terminus. But Brainstorm, I need to fundamentally change my hand right now. Right, that's not it. So I'm gonna fetch here. I guess I predict them in their upkeep. Oh, I can't because of the... Oh, right. There's all the defense grids. Yeah, I'm definitely just dead. That's a tilt that they wasted 30 minutes of my time and then won anyway, but it's fine. Maybe I should have had more Terminuses in the deck. Yeah, the Epic Storm pre-Modern Horizons 2 can't win that match. Like, I'm just treading water with the Blossoming Calms for 4 or 6 turns with the Snapcasters and the Mystic Sanctuaries, but the Ave was the thing that mattered, and I couldn't interact on the ways that mattered, so they did end up getting through it there. Never found the Null Rod. Did a lot of cantripping looking for Null Rod. Basically wasted game 1, drawing all my white cards, but that's part of... Like, you build this deck to be good against creature decks in the main, and then you need to stack your sideboard with combo cards. Important note, if Blossoming Calm was Deafening Silence, that game was over. Like, Blossoming Calm was cool, but Deafening Silence would have actually ended the game. They would have had to find an answer to it before they even do anything. I definitely think that this card should be something else. Should be the Deafening Silence. That change is made. It's official, lock it in. Do I want Dress Down? I didn't play against a Saga deck where you do really want Dress Down. So maybe not. Maybe... Okay, so here's what I think I want to do. Entreat the Angels was not good, and I boarded it out every round. And I just don't think Entreat and Mentor belong in the same deck. You can main deck Dress Down, though. In the Saga metagame, I don't even think that's necessarily a bad idea. I like that generic card here in the main deck, and then that opens up another sideboard slot for a second Deafening Silence. Combo is really what's going to beat you. You could even play the Deafening Calm, or the Deafening Calm, Blossoming Calm in one of these silence spots if you still like it. If your metagame has more discard, like against Ad Nauseam Tendrils, I guess I would still rather have Deafening Silence against Ad Nauseam Tendrils, but against like Grixis Control or Bug, like if there's Thoughtseizes in your metagame, you might like the Blossoming Calm better. But Deafening Silence is just a better card. That was an experiment that didn't work. As for the rest of the sideboard, everything was doing its job. I do like the Red Splash, came in handy a few times. I like the Spell Pierce, it was good every time we drew it. And I like this Planeswalker spread. So I think this is where I would leave this deck. Thank you, Ken, for sharing this with me. It was fun to go back to the roots, play some honest to goodness miracles. Had a lot of fun with it. And they lost to 2 combo decks, and they were both close losses, I think. I mean, the Alurin one, they dumpstered me pretty good. I think they had me pretty covered regardless going into that last turn, way back in round 1. But the Epic Storm match was pretty close. Like, there's reasonable redistributions of counterbalance hits where we win the game, and like, I guess that's an argument also. Like, counterbalance is clearly great sometimes and a blank other times, and is it better to just have a card that you know what it's going to do every time, but the like it's just a steady 6 instead of sometimes a 9 and sometimes a 1? That's also a deck building question, but I think I do like the counterbalance if we're doing the whole predict thing. Just more ways to look at the top of your deck, and predict is ways to manipulate the top of your deck. I do like that. So I'll leave it alone. But these are the changes I would make to the rest of the deck. The core is still there, but I think we cleaned up the engine and the supporting cast. Thank you, Ken, for sharing this deck with me. Everyone else, thanks for watching. I'm sure this is going to end up being a long league because it's Miracles. Thank you for sticking with me to the end. If you want to try this deck or any other deck, make sure to use my affiliate link for TCG Player to shop. It costs you nothing and sends money to the channel for any cards you buy in TCG Player through my link. So please click that and like and subscribe to the channel while you're there, and I will see you all next time.